I guess I'll ask, what's your take on what's going on around the world right now? Because instinctively, just as an individual contributor in my own local community, I sense that with, this will be coming out this Friday, but we're cutting midweek of the middle of October right now. We got news over this past weekend about the invasion in Israel by Hamas in Gaza and in Palestine, and now it sounds like there's going to be a two-front war. There's the north with Hezbollah and Lebanon, and all these different things happening. It seems to me that from a theological perspective, they're saying this is the biggest attack since Israel was founded, May 14th, 1948, and that it's the biggest loss of life since the Yom Kippur War, and so it's over. That was over 50 years ago, so it's obviously a big deal. And we know, there is no nation mentioned more in the Bible than Israel. It's going to connect to anywhere from the WASPs to the Catholics to the Muslims that are involved in that region, to everybody, and of course the Jews. And so it just, to me, as a family man, it seems like another tick in the ether that shows that mankind has gotten away from the stability that comes with virtue, right? Our Lady of Fatima says that war is a consequence for sin. So what's your initial reaction that it does seem that things are heating up around the world, and it probably speaks to your point that it's more important now than ever for people on the local level to band together and to fight for what you believe in?
Certainly, not only in the Middle East, like you said, in other parts of the world, but the Middle East has such a unique historical and theological significance. Again, we're just talking as friends. This isn't part of any kind of political platform, because again, I'm seeking an office at a local level to try to just make my community better.
Sure.
But of course, I know it's so cliche to say our prayers and thoughts go out, but no, in reality, we need to pray. Sincerely pray for peace in the Middle East. And this is a struggle between civilization and barbarism to some extent. Now, I'm open to hearing the perspective of those who have committed these atrocities, because something must be motivating them to do so, that they really think this is virtuous behavior to slaughter innocent women and children. What is the rationale behind this? Or is there a lack of rationale? And maybe this is where you have something that's fundamentally incompatible with our way of thinking. But we have to, I personally would support Israel in its defense, and for them to do what they need to do to not avenge in a revengeful way, but to teach the oppressor a lesson, not just to even things out, but to make sure that this does not happen again, and for the perpetrators to be culpable and just be punished for what the horrific things that they've done. So,
the thing that kills me, sorry to intervene, but the thing that kills me the most is, because I listen, I've got a lot of friends that are Ukrainian, I've got a lot of friends that are Russian, right? So we talk about, I mentioned it's just another tick. It's like that's obviously raging as well at the same time, and that's why it's such a challenging time to be alive, when navigating all of the things that we're talking about right now, right? Living a life of virtue, trying to live as an individual family person, your faith as best you understand it, navigating politics for those who are called to. It's all connected. We're talking about civilization, as you said, right? That's the common thread. And when I hear all of that, I respect and deeply empathize with the fact that people are going to think from the perspective of, people tend to flock to their country, right? Particularly if they believe it's a virtuous country. And so it's so hard to say, this one's right and this one's wrong. It's just war is ugly, but
sometimes necessary.
And we believe in the just war doctrine in Catholicism, right? That you do need to stand up for. That's part of standing up for justice. Here's where I struggle. You mentioned barbarism. we're getting reports that people are committing sexual atrocities against the women, and God forbid if it's the children, but it's God forbid writ large, and that does not jive with just war doctrine, ever.
No, of course not.
How could you don't mistreat civilians, even if you're capturing them for a time. You don't mistreat them.
Or using them as bargaining chips, or whatever it might be.
It's like a form of human trafficking. So again, it's not even about who's to blame. Everybody's like, oh, how did Israel? How did they allow it to happen when they have the best technology ever? Why would Hamas do that? What's the point? Like at the end of the day, to me, it's like we're human beings and we have dignity and inherent life, and obviously that's a line that you shouldn't cross.
But that presumption that we make that we are all human beings with inherent dignity may not be embraced by all cultures, and that's unfortunate. We presume that.
Well, it's back to the utilitarian heresy. You provide me some sort of a good or service, or else you're useless to me. Right? You can't apply utilitarianism to human beings.
I'm just surprised by the reaction of some folks. There were some demonstrations or shows of support in New York City and elsewhere for the actions of Hamas. And I would just like to understand what's your rationale in thinking. Why do you feel this way? How can you lend support to these people that are committing such horrible acts against your fellow man? And yes, humanity is very complex indeed. It's an understatement, but it's, again, we can sincerely pray for peace. And of course, our prayers are more effective when we ourselves are in a state of grace, when we
It's the only way they're effective.
Yeah, I know. I struggle with that a lot. Like, man, I'm ardently praying, but how effective are they? If I just gotta be in a good place regarding my soul. So, that's the solution to all of societal problems, right? If we're striving for goodness, and individually we know we're leading virtuous lives, the rest falls into place. It might sound oversimple, and it is complicated, but that's a simple formula for what makes civilization tick.
Right.
But when we're not taught these virtues in schools, our kids are not instilled with these values of what is right and wrong behavior, because we've glorified the self. Right. It's like this narcissism of the individual being so important.
Should kids have social media?
That's another issue. I mean, as a teacher in recent years, I saw the effects of that, the obsession with these TikTok videos and so forth. And, the internet can be such a wonderful tool as far as the amount of educational materials on there. Great historical videos, great speeches by people, a plethora of great information. But, like anything else, if it's not utilized for good means, it can be an instrument for things that are less than optimal for our society.